Hey,
there would
Bubble, do
also
you
have
believe
to
in an
die.
afterlife?
Yes.
Okay, so what do you believe will happen when you die?
I don't know.
Then why do you believe in an afterlife?
Do you think it's going to be?
turned into
Are you going to experience a euphoric state of some sense?
No. I think you probably turn into a ghost.
Into a ghost?
Yeah.
Why do you believe that?
That's the thing. Well, that's the thing. Because evolutionists can never prove their theory on the lab. I can prove a ghost, and I can prove a ghost using
How do you prove
experiments.
ghost? Prove a ghost experimentally. How do you do it?
Well, you have to do it to prove to
Show
yourself.
photographic.
No.
Okay.
Science doesn't work that way. Science doesn't work that way. You do the proof, you publish it, and we'll review it.
Look,
You make a prediction about what will happen.
if I see the ghost, how is that going to prove it to you? You have to see it.
You are the one making the claim. It is up
Even
to
if I
you.
get- look,
It is up to you
even-
to come up. It is not up to us to try and test your theory to see if it's true or not. You have to do the test yourself and publish your data, and then others can
Again.
see if they can replicate it. And if they can't, then you don't have anything.
Even if I show you all these video evidence, you're not going to believe any of that video evidence. Look,
No, what's going to happen?
no. Let me answer.
Let me explain. What's
No,
going to
you're trying to
happen?
cut me off. You're
No,
trying to cut me
what?
off.
No, I'm going to say
Yes,
this.
you are.
I know this is what you're going to do. You're going to show us those ghost videos, and we're going to say, that's not a ghost. That's just a trick of the light from a dust particle. And you're going to say, no, it's a ghost.
No, there's more than that. Look, there's plenty of ghost evidence that doesn't even require...
There's also millions and millions and millions of people videoing or recording effectively very visually noisy environments, and out of that, of course, you're going to have some stuff that eerily resembles things that our brain will pick up on through pareidolia.
No. Look, even if I let me reply.
You would have to show that a ghost is a more likely explanation for what is shown in that video than any other simple explanation, including a hoax or a trick of the light or anything else. It would be contingent on you to do that.
No. I don't want you to look at the video. I want you to try it.
Try what?
I want you to try the experiment.
What
a
experiment?
peer-reviewed experiment.
What experiment?
Oh, try to get contact with these ghosts. Try to get a demon attached to.
Oh, I did that a lot when I was a teenager.
No. It wasn't peer-reviewed. It has to be peer-reviewed. you need your help.
Give me the instructions step by step.
I tried to use this Ouija board. Nothing happened.
No, you have to do the experimentation based on your peers.
Give me the experiment step by step. Step by step. What's the experiment? How do I do it?
Well, first you have to. I would say just get a spiritual guide. They'll help you more. You know, you'll go to a haunted place.
Yeah, this will pass peer review.
Yeah, this will. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm getting ready for the Nobel Prize right now.
In all honesty, Bubble, I think that deep down, this is all bullshit, but you believe that you believe in it.
He believes in belief. That's what's going on here. He believes that it's a moral high. There's some moral value in claiming to believe these things.
No, because I know if you do
his beliefs.
No. I know if you do this experiment and you do see a ghost, your fucking whole worldview goes down the gutter.
Yeah, see
that's
what
you're
doing
afraid
right
of.
now. He's
That's what
saying,
you're afraid
I
of.
know this,
You're afraid
I know
of this
that.
experiment proving you wrong.
Okay, let me make something clear.
You're afraid of being proved wrong. That's what you
Let me make something clear. Let's say, hypothetically, there's an experiment that I can do that would make me see a ghost. Would I believe it then? No, for one reason. Because I know I cannot always trust my senses, so I would want then to publish my experience to see if other people can do it. And it's only when a sufficient enough people are able to replicate the experiment, then it is accepted. That's what you need. It needs to be repeatable.
Oh yeah, there's been repetition. Yeah, it's been repeatable. It's all a matter of
Well, then
you
give me
doing
the
it, 'cause
instructions step by step. What do I do?
Okay.
So do you think there's some sort of grand conspiracy theory that is keeping these repeatable experiments out of peer-reviewed journals?
No, I'm pretty sure it's more you guys want to be dogmatic atheists and don't want to experiment.
No, I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about the publishers of peer-reviewed scientific journals.
I'm not even an atheist, dude.
Why haven't they won the Nobel Prize?
Well, a lot of them aren't because nobody's going to consider this science yet. It's
No,
barely new
no.
science.
If they can replicate it, if they can reliably replicate it, and other people can replicate their work, it will be considered science, and the Nobel Prize will be the least of the awards they'll get, and they'll be world famous, and their names will go down in history.
Well, you know Veritasium.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get him to do it. Let's get him to peer review it. Why not? Why do you think he's going to say no?
But it couldn't just be Veritasium. It would have to be him, then some other guy in London does
this
it.
This is a great idea. You should go do that. You should go and actually conduct the experiment. Why do you want us to do it? You're the one making the claim. Go prove your claim. You're saying that it's demonstrable. You're saying that that it can be replicated. So go do the experiment. Maybe you can only convince other ghost believers to do the experiment with you, but if you follow strict protocols and you get repeatable results, then you'll actually be able to prove it to the more skeptical people. And then you would be able to get it published in peer-reviewed journals, and you would win a Nobel Prize, and you would be a millionaire. You'd never have to worry about debating skeptics online.
No, because all you're going to say is that video's edited. I can't be trusted.
I'm not talking about me. I'm saying you do this.
No, I need you to do it.
It's peer review. Why are you doing it? You go get your experiment peer reviewed, and then show us.
I'm willing to. If Veritasium is willing to do it, he's willing to peer review.
Okay, then do it, and let's stop talking about it because it's your responsibility to conduct that experiment, not ours.
Then you're just gonna say Veritasium is faking it.
I would not say Veritasium is faking it.
Me showing you a video of me doing.
If I see a peer-reviewed scientific study establishing the existence of ghosts, and I see that study replicated by numerous other people and showing consistent results, then I will believe in ghosts.
No, I want Veritasium to do it because he's an authority.
Science doesn't work by authority.
My bad, not authority. Peer review.
Veritasium would be the experimenter. He would then submit his results for peer review. And then then what would happen is he'd send it to some kind of journal, and then the journal's editor would select referees to peer review his work. They'd point out any problems, anything that he might need to change to get it, and if he can get it past the peer review, then he can get it published, and then other people can try to replicate his results. That's how it works.
Yeah, and Luna, I want to say this. Luna brought up a pretty good point about the test to make sure you're sure you can actually see ghosts. You also need to make sure that the test is actually, that lets you see the ghost, you're actually seeing something, and it's not causing you to hallucinate. Because if a guy comes up to you and say, you'll see ghosts if you take this chemical, and you take it, and it's like, whoa, I see a ghost.
Yeah, if step one is take LSD, then I don't think it's going to be reliable.
Well, clearly.
Okay, tell you what. I'll put my money where my mouth is. How about this? How about we actually put a wager on an experiment that we both agree, if ghosts are real, this will happen, and if they aren't, this other thing will happen. Let's figure out what the testing protocols are, and then I'll put $1,000 on that.
Like what James Randi did.
Yep.
Are you willing to travel?
If you're willing to pay for the travel, no. I've got a job, I've got a family, but hey, why don't you come to me? If you're so confident that ghosts are real, why don't you come to Colorado? We can go to the Stanley Hotel.
No, we had to go to a really haunted place.
The Shining. I love it.
No, we have to go to a real haunted place.
You don't think that the Stanley Hotel...
it's not haunted enough.
I mean, I don't believe it's haunted either, but, if there's one place that people who do believe in ghosts generally agree is haunted, then it is the Stanley Hotel.
That's his movie.
It's fucking haunted, dude. There's been people murdered there. There's been, a bunch of shit in that area.
It's not haunted because ghosts aren't real.
No, to try prisons. Prisons are a lot more suffering.
Ooh, trip to Alcatraz.
The thing is, there is no shortage of people and skeptics like me willing to make these kinds of bets. If you want to make a lot of money, all you
I'm
have
willing
to do
to.
is set up. Okay, go do it.
Dude,
do
I
it.
work
Let's
minimum
stop talking about it. You
wage.
go
I'd
do it
love
and
to
tell
make
us what
that
the
type of
result.
cash.
But then I could just edit the video and you just say, "Oh, that was fake." So there's no point.
It would
in me
be it
doing
would be on you to prove that it's not fake, but that can be done.
No, the point in you doing it is you would make a ton of money off of people
No.
who think like us. You would
No,
be able to
you
take
could say my
How about
experiment
this?
was
How about
biased
this?
and all of this,
You
blah
take
blah
a
blah.
video of yourself filming the video, so you can prove there's no camera tricks, there's nothing involved like that.
No, there could always be camera tricks you don't see. And I could just
But
do
that's
this
why it needs to be
perfect-
repeatable. That's why someone else would need to go and set up their cameras and observe the same thing.
Yeah, so you might as well go in first, and then I'll try to repeat.
No.
Somebody else
You're the
repeated, not
one.
me.
You're the one making the claim.
Well, no, because whatever I do, whatever video I do produce, you're just gonna say I edited it.
You have
What-
to
what
say, because whatever, if we go in first and we don't find anything, you'll just say we did it wrong. Well, you need to tell us how to do that, and the way you do it is by doing it
Of course, I'll
yourself.
tell you what to do.
Okay, do it. What is the experiment?
But the experiment is really simple. You have to find a haunted place. You usually have to go alone, no cameras. So
Okay, let's assume we found a haunted place.
There seem to be camera shots.
All right, and then what are we supposed to do?
Well, you can either you have to intentionally with your spoken word call the creature, the entity out to come in contact with you. Of course, you'll have equipment,
Okay,
not just a Ouija board.
so when you do the experiment, you write down the exact words you say to call it out, and so we know what those are. Yeah.
Can we call out Adam Costello?
No, for example, if you're like,
what is a
for example,
what is a predictable observation that you and I would disagree on what the outcome is?
because this thing is like, it's not really like setting up a date. It's the chances of highly coming in contact with them. And so to increase those chances, you have to leave yourself open, because these things seem to be predatory. They seem to go after individual humans. They really like to feast on fear or something of a kin. And so,
Is there some sort of objectively verifiable observation? Some sort of like for example, let's say I set up a candle. I said, okay, if you're a ghost, blow out this candle within the next 10 seconds, and compare and do this repeatedly. Okay, keep the candle lit for 10 seconds, and so
And
forth.
then sometimes you would have to light the candle without saying blow it out in 10 seconds and have the candle stay lit for more than 10 seconds. So you'd have to do it both ways.
there's a,
Can a ghost
there's
blow
a-
out a candle? Can a ghost blow out a candle?
I don't know that, but I know one thing they can
What
do.
can a ghost do?
A ghost can manipulate the light source. For example, if you have a flashlight,
Okay,
sitting-
manipulating the light source. So if we set up a light and we measured its intensity, okay, we set up a light source that you believe it can manipulate, and we measure its intensity, and then we call upon that ghost to dim the lights. Okay, you think that there will be a statistically significant pattern associated with that wouldn't be explained by just that would be discernible from just random noise, right?
No, because we can filter out these errors by bringing in more lights. One good
Well,
way
no, that's
to do
what you
it-
do. You would repeat it. You would do it like, 1,000 times. Some of the times you
Right.
tell the ghost to dim the lights, and sometimes you wouldn't, and you'd see if you can get to consistent results.
Yes, so we would come up
Yeah.
with questions that show that this light isn't just some random act of battery loss. So
Right.
Right. We can measure through repeated experiments what the probability is that the light will dim at any given time. Okay, and then we
Not
can
a
compare
probability,
that to repeated instances of us asking the ghost to dim the lights and see if the lights dim more often when we're asking the ghost to dim the lights. Right. So
Yes,
according to
kind of.
your belief, okay, if we conducted this experiment, say 100 times, we did nothing and measured how often the lights dimmed, and 100 times we asked the ghost to dim the lights, that when we're asking the ghost to dim the lights, that will result in the lights dimming more often than when we didn't. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's the dimming would have to show some sort of intelligence behind it, not just some random act.
I wouldn't even require intelligence behind it. It just have it dim, 800 out of 1,000 times or something like that, and not get that result when you don't tell it to dim the lights.
So I would actually be willing to put money that that's not going to happen in your little experiment.
Well, that's the thing. Flashlights don't dim on themselves.
Okay,
Especially-
what light source do you think it would affect?
They can apparently manipulate flashlights. So what I'm thinking
Okay,
is...
flashlights.
So what I'm thinking is having like multiple sets of flashlights with like keywords behind them, like yes or no. And so somebody would ask, is the person next to me wearing a red shirt? Yes or no?
It doesn't even have to be that complicated. Just dim the flashlight in the next 10 seconds. Or don't dim the flashlight in the next 10 seconds. And you do that over and over and over again.
So like, because some of them know how to do it, some of them don't. So we had to bring different equipment. They seem to be able to manipulate REM pods a lot easier.
Okay, we could do multiple different experiments, but the point is, this is testable, and if you can get a consistent result out of this in the long run, it doesn't have to be consistent between each individual trial, but statistically significant over many trials, then what you have there is a repeatable experiment, and you would win a Nobel Prize for demonstrating that. So go do it.
No, because again, you would guys should say, look, it's just your bias. You probably just manipulate this video.
No, I wouldn't. I absolutely would
Yes,
not.
you would.
If I ran the math and found that there was a statistical impossibility of that happening, then I would accept that ghosts might be real before.
Look, I can show
saying
you
that
video
it's
of
just
this.
random chance.
I can show you a video of this. You're just gonna say it's not real, okay? So there's no point in me doing it because you just relates my bias.
Yeah, and Bubble,
The video evidence that it could be a hoax.
Exactly.
There's all kinds of reasons to be skeptical about it.
That's why it needs to be repeatable.
Yes, so you might as well
That's
do
why
it.
someone else who's more skeptical can go and set up your same experiment, do it exactly the same way as you did, and see if they get the same results.
Yep, and that's why you're here.
And if you get a no result, are you ready to admit that ghosts are probably not real?
Yes.
Hey, Bubbles, you pay for my flight. It can be the cheapest there is, Spirit Airlines, whatever. Find a location, I'd be up for it.
Heck no, I'm not paying for you. I mean, I got money, but not that kind of money.
You're the one making the claim.
I mean, you're making the claim. It's up to you.
Well, it's clearly you're trying to avoid this experiment because you know you're going to get a demon
No.
eventually.
We're saying we're willing to do
You
it.
can
But
just do this experiment on your own to make sure that it works. And if it works, then if you do this experiment on your own and prove that it works, right? And then you front a little bit of money to get me to actually for it to be worth my while to come out there, and you prove it to me, and you get a result, and we can write up a contract that, regardless of whether I accept the implications of the result, if this is the result that you get, then I'll reimburse you every cent that you paid to get me to come out there, and then some.
Oh, that'd be nice.
I know
But again,
plenty of
me
places in Maine that are supposedly haunted.
No, you got to get something
I'd
tough.
love to go visit.
You got to get something with a lot of suffering.
well, I mean, you pick the place.
There's no shortage of places like that.
You pick the place. You pick the kind of flashlights, the brand of the batteries, all of that.
No, again,
I would
me
stipulate
doing
that-
the experiment will not prove anything. It can't be for my
You
bias.
have
but
to
it can prove it
start,
to
but
you.
you have to give us
No.
something. You have to give us
Stop
something.
Stop trying to
Now,
avoid my
see,
experiment.
you doing the experiment will give you the confidence to know that it works. That should
No,
bring.
I know it. I know it works.
Then do it. Then do it. If you know it works,
Look,
then do it.
even if I
and
did-
write up
how's
exactly
me
what you
doing it-
did. Write up exactly what you did step by step, and we'll see if someone else can duplicate the results.
Then we can do it.
No, because look, if I do it, that's not going to prove it to you. You're just going to say it was biased and I
Right, which is
but you could pay
why
me to do the
you
same.
have to write it up so that someone else can try it.
Well, I can just write up some for you. It doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, as long as it's repeatable, and as long as it's got a good experimental protocol with good methodology, then just write it up and people can do it and see if it works or not.
I guess so. Yeah, I could do writing, but I would say get a somebody more who knows more about these things than me, and ask them for an experiment.
You
Because-
ask them. You're the one doing this. You're the one who is claiming this.
Well,
Because if we do
I-
something,
I
you'll
re-
just say you got the wrong guy or something. You're the one making the claim. You need to do
I'm
all
trying
this.
to eliminate my bias. I'm
To
trying
be
to.
specific, do we need a rabbi, a Native American chieftain, or
No.
anything like that? Like, what religion we talking about here?
Not a religion. Somebody who knows how to get in contact with these things, like I'm not sure what they call them, Wiccans, witches.
So a medium.
Yeah, that whatever they are.
But
And they can,
but that adds another.
You just need a coherent testing protocol that can be repeated by others. That's what you
they
need.
know more protocols than I do. I just know like
It doesn't
the
matter
light
who
one.
comes up with the protocols, as long as it can be repeated by others, as long as people can set up the same experiment and get the same results, and as long as it has, the proper testing conditions and the proper methodology, then that's all you need. That's all we're asking for here.
Yeah, you can go to a medium. I don't know about these protocols more. They would know more about these protocols. I'm not.
You
I'm not-
create your protocols.
No, I know some protocols. That's why I'm telling you. Go to a meeting because they know more of the protocols.
You go to the medium.
It's your experiment. You write up your protocols. It means a protocol is just how the experiment is conducted. So create the experiment. Create it in a way that makes a prediction.
Again, you're not listening to me. Go to a meeting because they know more protocols than I do.
You go to the meeting, you ask them for the protocol, you write it down, and do it, and see if we can replicate it.
I
Yeah,
joined
but
because I have sort of a question to ask Bubble, which is like, if we do this experiment and we do everything by the letter and like nothing happens, would that be, evidence in your eyes that ghosts don't exist, or would you just say the ghost wasn't feeling it?
Well, it would be evidence against me, yes. But there are ghosts because you're not setting up a date with these ghosts. You're just setting up a probability to come in contact with them. And what you're really doing is increasing your probability.
Well, if you can't get reliable repetition of it, then how do you know you're correct?
That's the thing. You have to come back to the same area. Maybe try about 5 times. If nothing, look.
Okay, then
this
that's part
is
of the
good.
protocol. Try 5 times.
Yeah.
Go like on 5 different nights or whatever. That's part of your
Yeah.
protocol. So that's part of
Well,
what you would write down.
Yeah, well, that's part of any science experiment. Like, look, you just try it
Yeah.
again. You
Yeah,
can try
just-
with sex experiment.
No, not
That's
keep
part of
trying.
any
Not keep trying.
experiment.
Not keep trying. We're not going to do p hacking. You say ahead of time how many tries you need to do each night over how many nights, and how far apart the nights are. Go like, 1 night a week, or maybe different days of the week, or whatever you think it needs to do. You do all of that ahead of time. That is key. You have to put all of that down ahead of time before you collect any data whatsoever. Then you have your protocol, and your protocol doesn't change.
Right, because you need to know if your result is statistically likely to happen 1 out of 100 trials, but you tried 100 times, then that doesn't really mean anything.
Let's say you've got an experiment that, if your hypothesis is not true, it has a 1 in 100 chance of working. And so then you start trying, and you start your repetition. You try it 1 time, it doesn't work. Twice, it doesn't work. 3 times, a 4th, but it works on the 5th time. And then you stop there and you say, aha, that was 1 out of 5, not 1 out of 100. That's 20%, not 1%. Therefore, it's real. No. You have to do the other 95. You have to say ahead of time how many you're going to do and how many of those many you would expect to have a positive result.
No, if by the 5th day you see a full body apparition, like, that's solid evidence. There's no more experiment to be done.
Well, people hallucinate things all the time. I mean,
You got to specify ahead of time.
Yeah, you cannot trust your
Specify
senses.
ahead of time, or it doesn't,
Well,
or it doesn't count.
okay, you have to check if you have some mental disorder. If you have some mental disorder, of course, don't do this because you have some sort of mental disorder.
Or, on the 5th day, maybe someone was pulling a prank on you.
Or maybe some neighbor nearby was burning leaves and some plastic got in it and it generated some noxious chemical that came over to you and you hallucinated. and it's just a freak thing that wouldn't repeat.
You don't need to be on a chemical or have a mental disorder to see things. You could just be really tired. I've had that happen to me.
Or have a fever. I've hallucinated on a fever when I had mono.
Well, that's still something wrong with you, like a fever.
But I mean, the point is,
desert.
the weird edge cases like that happen. So you can't just have it happen once and say, "Oh, that's it; it's confirmed."
Well, don't come with a fever or extreme dehydration.
But you never really know when the edge case is going to happen or what's going to cause it. That's why you do enough trials. To make sure, because maybe it's not the fever. Maybe it's like the neighbor burning plastic, but you don't even know that the neighbor's burning plastic.
I think you'll notice the neighbor burning plastic.
Maybe not. I mean, if it's filtered through the air enough that you can't smell it, but it's enough to have a psychotropic effect.
Yeah, doubt it. I don't see people getting high on plastic.
When plastic burns, it can give off some pretty nasty fumes.
I mean, even like things not like hallucination, but pareidolia.
The thing about ghost testing is that most of the supposed evidence occurs in a way that's not repeatable or testable in a way that usually can be attributed to other phenomenon or hoaxes or something. This isn't really the most productive subject that we could be on right now.
I'm still having fun.
There's no point in me doing the experiment. Plus, I don't want to get a demon attached to me. And once you get a demon attached to yourself, you know who you have to run to.
Well, see, all I'm hearing are excuses not to do the experiment. Well, if that's the case, then you're not going to do the experiment, which means that as far as you know, as far as your observation of the universe appears, it appears exactly the way it would if there were no ghosts.
But if you're not willing to conduct the experiment, then you can't claim that you know it will work.
And you certainly can't chide anyone else for not believing you. If you won't even do the experiment yourself, you have no basis to say it's someone else's problem because we don't believe you.